fact that you have been chosen to be taking on this Agatha Danbury role, what was it like embodying her?
Oh my goodness, that's such a good question. You know, I don't exactly even know what it was like embodying her. It besides something quite magical, you know, this is a woman that I think is such an empowering representative for Black women, and to be able to step into her shoes, one, I was like, am I ready? And then on top of that, to read about her journey throughout this season and to see her start off in a very different place was the most freeing thing, because I think we're actually quite similar in where we both start off, in different aspects, of course, but then to see where she gets to, it's like having a step-by-step, you know, how to become an empowered woman, and how just generous of a gift that is to get.
It's so refreshing to see you be so grateful to this opportunity and realize the magnitude that you bring to the screen as a Black woman. Before I can, your hair, everything is just immaculate on you.
Thank you. I got a good team.
I mean, tell them kudos, get the raise, because dang, they did that. How big of a Bridgerton fan were you before you got involved in the Bridgerton universe?
So I'd never watched the show, ever. I didn't know, I thought Bridgerton was the street that they lived on. I didn't really understand what was all the hype. But the thing is, I'm a massive fan of Shonda. So I'd watched Scandal, I'd watched How to Get Away with Murder. I think both of those, I've watched them 3 times around. It never gets old. And so when I got an audition from my agent and he said, oh, it's from the, you know, producers of Bridgerton, Shondaland. And I was like, yeah, get me in I don't care what it is I'm doing. I'll do anything. But to be able to have this woman's words in my mouth, to speak them into life, it's like a massive reason why I became an actor. Like, she writes for women like me, and so to be able to do that, it's one of the most, I can't be any more grateful than I am.
Shonda, I'm glad you brought her up. She puts me in awe every single time that I get a chance to speak with her, whenever I get to see her work, all types of stuff. Just now, a few minutes ago, she told me the process in which she creates these scenes. She says things out loud. She acts it out loud. She cries out loud every single scene. So I'm curious to know, you seeing her behind the scenes, can you share with us fans maybe the most shocking part of her process that you found by just observing her?
You know, she wasn't on set that much because she lives in Connecticut and we were shooting in England. And but I honestly think the most shocking thing is that she answered my emails. I had so many questions. I think I'm like an extremely over-analytical person. And so getting this role, I was like, I need to know everything about Agatha. Like, when's her birthday? Is she a Gemini? You know, all of these small things, like, you know, just obviously they wouldn't be in the script, but just to help me along and to get her responding back to me, it's one of those really life-affirming moments. You know, like, I'm meant to be here. I'm deserving of this space. Like, she is my boss and I'm not going to say colleague. She is my boss, but to be even in that proximity is amazing. Specifically also as an artist and a Black artist, I think it's one of those moments where I'm so grateful to have, you know, like a potential mentor in her.
Amazing. I want you to take us behind the scenes. It's one of my favorite questions to ask because I always like to see, kind of from you all's point of view, what it's like to interact with the rest of the cast or create moments that you'll never forget. Do you have one of those moments that when you guys stopped shooting, you guys kind of bonded and did something together as a cast, or maybe with 1 or 2 other actors?
You know, it's interesting. A lot of the friends that I made were on the crew because, like, my storyline is kind of a bit different than everybody else's. And the crew were one of the greatest support teams. There was a group of like 4 Black women, amazing, who were all in different types of departments, who are all amazing artists in their own right. And I remember one day we were having a long lunch hour. The sun was out, which is extremely rare for England. And somebody brought out a speaker and we were listening to Guyanese music. And we were by a lake and it was just, I haven't been that happy in, I mean, God, I'm in the most happiest period of my life, but that was like peak.
I love that so much. One of my final questions for you. Let's talk about your favorite scene. Did you have a scene that you enjoyed the most, that you had the most fun shooting, that you can't wait for fans to see?
Yes, I really enjoyed shooting. There's a scene with me and India where we're discussing intimate things. And it was extremely fun to film. It was the very first scene we had filmed. Like that was the first scene all of us had filmed. And to just be able to come in with a very graphic scene and filming with this Pomeranian that had its own temperament and did not care what the schedule was. It was just, yeah, I really am excited for people to watch it.
You have been a fan favorite for so long. When did you notice that character that you played, Queen Charlotte, was this huge hit?
Oh my goodness. Maybe when my Instagram went from 150 people to like 25 million. I mean, it's not there, but you know, when that jump happened, I was like, oh, okay, maybe this is something that's happened. You know, for everybody on Bridgerton and for everybody that's worked on it. I think that moment, you know, in 2020, Christmas Day 2020, you know, will be forever be that moment where the world really embraced us and have taken us and the world and this character, you know, under their arms and really cherished us, which it's thrilling, really lovely.
How much involvement did you get with this new spinoff? Because you truly, yes, the idea came from Shonda's head and you were emulating someone who was a real life character, a real life person, but you put your own spin on it. So in this new spinoff, how much of your involvement are you having?
In terms of writing involvement, I think we leave that to Shonda. You know, we leave that to the brilliance of her execution of these characters. She is an extraordinary artist of her time. I think everything that she places out into the world is a real reflection on that world. And the characters that she invests in are so relatable. So it was really easy for me to just sit back and wait for those scripts. And she did not disappoint.
I love that so much. Just to hear about how she does it. She was just telling me that she'll act out every single scene. I mean, the crying, the dramatics, the yelling, everything. I would pay an arm and a leg to see how her mind works.
Yeah.
I want you to take us behind the scenes. Which scene did you have the most fun shooting in this spinoff and that you can't wait for fans to see?
There are a few scenes, definitely the ones with Brimsley. I think that's a really important relationship to show because it is one of dedication, it's one of longevity, you know. They've been together as long as the Queen and the King have been together, you know. That friendship is really deep. Hugh Sachs, who plays Brimsley, we've done a lot of work on Bridgerton to do with the relationship, but it is silent, you never hear of it. In Queen Charlotte, you get to see and you get to hear how important the two characters are to each other. That's really thrilling for me, you know. And then, you know, the stuff with the kids is really great because they have been in my imagination in Bridgerton, and now they are physically there in front of me. So, you know, it's really thrilling to be able to connect the physical with my imagination. I now know what my children look like instead of imagining what they look like. So that's great, you know, and I thank Shonda for that. You know, she birthed my children for me. So that's really thrilling. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of things in there, but those are the two that really stand out for me.
Which character can you see getting their own spin-off after Queen Charlotte?
Brimsley.
I knew you were going to say Brimsley.
Yeah, my man. I will always advocate for that character. Yeah.
And my final question for you, working with I love how you describe Shonda as brilliant. Working with someone so brilliant, many fans are intrigued by her entire thought process and the inner workings of how she operates. What is maybe one thing that fans would be shocked to learn about working with someone like Shonda Rhimes herself?
I hope she wouldn't mind me saying this, but Shonda is a writer first and foremost. That's where her mind is. She's a writer. My partner is a writer, a playwright. So I have a kind of kinship with that sensibility. To be able to create these characters, and as Shonda says, live their lives, to be able to share that with the world is a very special mind, you know. And for all Shondaland and, you know, Grey's Anatomy, How to Get Away with Murder, Scandal, all these things that are being, absolutely churned out. The writer in Shonda is the most exquisite and the thing that is at the root of her as a human being.